Hello and welcome to ACTRA Toronto's second ever virtual conference.
I'm Jocelyn Zuko.
And I'm Rebecca Applebaum.
And we're the co-chairs of the conference committee.
As we're gathered here online, we'd like to acknowledge the land ACTRA Toronto operates from and where Jocelyn and myself are currently situated. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, the Haudenosaunee, and the land. The treaty was created to share and protect what is still their traditional territory. This area around the Great Lakes represents the dish that we all feed from and must share with one spoon.
Subsequent Indigenous nations, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect for the land we now share. We are all treaty people who have a responsibility to maintain the spirit of the Dish with One Spoon covenant. We encourage everyone to visit native-land.ca to find out whose traditional territory you are living on. Now, although we are, like everyone, excited at the possibility of being able to return and have conferences live and in person, the first virtual one was such a success that, well, we decided to do it again. We're very excited to bring this virtual edition, part 2.
Yes, we are. And we've got fantastic sessions featuring some amazing performers, in-demand casting directors, and an excellent accountant, which is very important. Tax season is just around the corner.
We also have 3 screenings of powerful films, all created by members through committee initiatives.
You have today and tomorrow to watch them on your own time. So go ahead and watch them during your break. They're only around 10 minutes long each, or you can watch them over lunch or after the sessions are over and you just want to sit back and relax and take in some great flicks.
We also have some big ticket prizes that will be given out during the plenary. Among the wonderful and sometimes delicious prizes are 2 $500 prizes from First Ontario and a $250 scholarship from AFBS. So be sure to attend what will be an enlightening and inspiring meeting. You will get to meet your new executive and find out what's going on with your union and the industry.
Now, we've worked with some pretty wonderful folks to bring this event to you. And so we'd like to thank everyone who's helped put this conference together.
Thank you to all our guests who have generously given of their time and expertise to be with you today.
Thank you to August Liu, our new staff liaison for the conference committee, who has infused such great energy, insight, and new and exciting workflows to support us with organizing this virtual event. Welcome to your first ACTRA Toronto conference, August.
Thank you to Victoria Murdoch, John McGrath, Pierre Simpson, and Dominique Browns, who spearheaded the specific sessions and screenings that are programmed here today. Auditioning virtually for commercials, tax strategies actors need to know, casting Run the Birds, and the screenings of the short films Registering of Fate, Rainbow Baby, and Body So Fluorescent.
Now, this will be my last conference as co-chair of this committee. And so I also wanted to take a moment to thank all the conference committee members I've ever worked with, the past chairs on whose shoulders I've stood on, our former staff liaison, Karen Ritson, and of course, my incredible co-chair, Jocelyn Zuko. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, Jocelyn. It has always felt like a true collaboration and partnership. Together, it seems we could always figure anything out easily, stuff that on my own would be challenging, to say the least. Jocelyn, thank you so much for your insight and honesty, your positivity and excitement, which is always so contagious, and for all the very many good chats we've had along the way. I'm really gonna miss working with you.
Thank you. And Rebecca Applebaum, I am in awe a few. I know that our title says that we are co-chairs, but to use a word that you've used, I've always thought of us as partners. And how fortunate was I to be invited to partner with you these last few years to present 4 live conferences together and now 2 virtual ones. I have said it before and I will say it again. I don't know how the heck I'm going to do any of this without you. We talked through everything together. We made every decision together, and I will miss our conversations. You so know how to get things done, and you infuse everything that you do with passion and with compassion and with humor and with good nature. You listen and you support. You've been there for me and celebrated my wins and been there for me when things were a little tougher. I will miss your friendship greatly. And boy, do you know how to get around a Google spreadsheet. So for that and for so many things that there's not enough time to talk about, I want to thank you for being such a grand partner and a grand human. And I will miss you very much.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Yes, it's been an incredible few years working together, and yeah, I couldn't have done it without you for sure. And you're going to be amazing. I'm not worried about you at all. But, you know, I always say to new members, ACTRA isn't just a union, it's a community, and I've felt that especially, in this committee and working with Jocelyn as well, because it's what it's always been for me ever since I joined and I started coming to the conferences myself as a little baby ACTRA member. It's been a supportive, empowering, and connected community filled with inspiring folks doing great things. And though we're still physically apart, I hope that all of you attending today will also come away feeling some sense of connection to this wonderful community of performers and artists.
And with that,
have an amazing conference.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Rebecca and Jocelyn. You have a lot of us tearing up behind the scenes. Thanks for that. Hello, ACTRA Toronto. Good morning and welcome to our first virtual winter conference and the first session of the day, the 30-second story, auditioning virtually for commercials. A special note that those who require closed captioning, live transcript is available by clicking the button at the bottom of your screen. I'm Victoria Murdoch, and I have the pleasure of hosting casting director Shasta Lutz of Jigsaw Casting, as well as 4 ACTRA Toronto performers as they work live with Shasta for their commercial recalls. Now, actors are storytellers, and commercials can be a great way to tell a story, short story, and a powerful story. Self-tapes are certainly not new. And as the pandemic forced our industry to embrace virtual work wherever possible, Zoom auditions and recalls are now quite standard. I know personally speaking, and perhaps some of you are in the same boat. Even though we've been working this way for a few years now, I'd still love some tips and tricks to creating a better self-tape and performing a great Zoom audition. Now today to start, we'll be breaking down the process of the commercial self-tapes and recalls by observing our 4 actors as they work directly with Shasta. We'll have a few breaks for discussion and follow that with the Q&A. So please feel free at any time to add your questions to the Q&A function in Zoom. We have a whole team behind the scenes here working hard to get your questions answered live. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Shasta Lutz of Jigsaw Casting. Shasta built Jigsaw Casting from scratch in 1996 solo. Under Shasta's wing, clients are assured access to the best negotiator in town, who is an expert at all the rules of engagement, all the while benefiting from her long-standing industry relationships. Her thumbprint is on every aspect of this casting experience, aiming for best performers turnout, ever mindful of budgets, and always creating space for fresh faces. Welcome, Shasta. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. Oh my goodness, you're still muted, Shasta.
See, guys, even I screw up. Hello. Hi, Victoria. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. All right, now I want to jump into the audition straight away, but I also kind of want to hear from you a little bit first. I was wondering if you might share with us personally on the subject of self-tapes and Zoom auditions. How has Jigsaw managed to transition to virtual auditions? Are there any challenges or even benefits that you've experienced from this medium that we might not know about on the other side of the table from casting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great question. So, in terms of challenges, I mean, before COVID, when we were all working in a studio, when we worked kind of normal hours, you would have a certain number of room for a certain number of actors, and you did your day. That's how we pay our rent, and you shipped off the tapes or you sent off the links, and so as a positive, we're able to see some more people. Then going back to a negative, I used to maybe see 30, 35 people per role. And so now we can see more if we want, keeping in mind that we have to vet those tapes. So that is definitely a negative. That is taking a lot of resources away from my office, and it's also a cost. And what I'm finding is that if we have requested, say, 50 tapes, sometimes we get as few as 27.
Yeah, that was
So,
my question, because you end up with bulk, but then you have to narrow it down to the ones that you actually going to pitch to your client. Is that how that works?
no, I think it's just like for some reason, like there's when you used to see people in a session and somebody was sick or they couldn't get babysitting or they were being held up at another audition, maybe you'd get 2 or 3 regrets, is what we call them.
Right.
Often we could replace those regrets. But now in this new system is that you call out your auditions, you have a deadline for tapes. And like, for instance, for me, and I'm pretty sure for other casting, is that, we're aware of not wanting to make you guys work on a weekend if we can avoid that. And we have kind of like a deadline. But once that deadline happens, we have to sort through them and send them off to our clients. And it's really tough to see that, oh my goodness, you are missing 23 tapes, which is completely normal for whatever reason. And it's
Just don't get submitted by the deadline. Is that what
yeah, or they get
Yeah.
submitted. Like often I'm looking at tapes and I'm like, this is not my audition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there still are issues 2 years in. And so just going back to challenges, in the old time, I'd have like a session director, my cameraman, they would, vet as we go. And so now this has fallen to me to like, often we're looking at, for a really huge project, anywhere from 200 to, 400 tapes. So
A big
that's,
time commitment.
yeah, it's tough. It really is
Yeah.
tough.
Because we're seeing on the other side, I guess as performers, we're thinking, oh, we have to spend all this more time editing, taping, to potentially finding a reader and then sending it off. But we don't necessarily realize that on the other side, that all needs to be processed and viewed and packaged as well from casting.
Yeah, and then the agents as well. Like often these are going to the agents. They used to just look at tapes. If you were doing like, if you've been invited to do a film, or maybe there was something casting in Vancouver, and so you might send a tape. But everybody, we recognize this is hitting, and it's important that you guys know that it's also hitting casting. And then we don't have our studios, and our studios is what pays our rent. So it has
That
been
makes a lot of sense.
a little bit
Yeah.
of a struggle.
And I'm wondering, based on, this has been just shy of 2 years of working this way, and self-tapes were around for a while before that. I'm observing, and perhaps you are observing the same thing, that self-tape seems to be the new normal for the first round of auditions, no matter what is the situation. And then because you don't have your studio space, recall is sort of a live Zoom. Is that sort of the model that you've been following in commercials?
Yes. Now, just so you know, Stephen Mann and Andrew Hayes and I talk every day about when are we going to open up.
Wow.
And we've discussed that we don't think we're going back to the traditional initial sessions in
Yeah, that
studio.
was going to be my next question, was that, do you think Zoom auditions are here to stay?
I think they're here to stay for now.
Okay.
I think that our ideal is to be able to do recalls in studio, but we have a whole bunch of, handcuffs. The number one thing is time. So let's say, for instance, we get our, basically what happens is that we post a job, say, on Monday, and we prep it and we call it out. Tuesday, we follow up with requests or late submissions because the agents can be really busy. We get everything Thursday morning, we vet, and we send as soon as we can, probably early to mid-afternoon. And then hopefully we're getting some recalls on a Friday that we can call out, and then for Tuesday, and then we can fine tune on Monday somebody who can't make their time, or the client's like, can you please pair these people up? And then that would be for Tuesday. That would be the ideal goal. I know that's what we aim for. So if you do have a quick turnaround tape, it's only because we're in an emergency and we're in a situation of like, okay, do we take the job or not?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that all being said, now that we know that from what we're hearing, self-tape and Zoom audition is here to stay.
I think so. And then once we
Yeah.
get into, and then so like we have our first, like, I think I've maybe done 2 or 3 in-person auditions since the fall.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For recalls, is that ACTRA requires us to test, which makes me feel better, to be honest. Even though it's just a snapshot of where we are right now, because we've had so many issues, with COVID and standbys, and you're casting one role, but it's really you're casting 3 because
That's
you
true.
need
Yeah.
you need a viable backup and then maybe another backup. And so with in terms of the schedule and the amount of money that this costs clients, you need to know that I've heard, and I don't have this in writing, but that the average cost for COVID per commercial project are anywhere from like $20,000 to $40,000 for.
Wow.
If you look at like 100 crew, including clients and actors, depending on how big the cast is, plus a PCR test,
Of
and
course. Yeah,
maybe two, it's really expensive. So we want to get out of this as quick as possible, but I know that for myself, we just want to do it safely.
for sure.
My staff still feels a little bit sketch.
And on a performer side, based on hearing all that and based on seeing the big picture, I think the best we can do to deliver quality results is in our corner here. So I think that said, I think it might be time to move in to see some of these self-tapes and see some of these recalls. So that being said,
Right.
at this point, Shasta, I'm going to step aside. First off, we're going to play some clips from our first 2 actors. It's going to be Maria Crystal and Talia. And now I will stay off screen after those clips have played, and it will be then your recall live. You can call upon those 2 actors to come forward and feel free to lead it the way you would lead it. After that, I'll step back in for just a really quick recap in between, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the second pairing. Sounds good?
Yeah, so just one quick little question. So these self-tapes everybody's going to view, are we going to talk about those self-tapes, or are they just going to go right to recall?
I wanted to give you the option, actually. So because Maria Crystal and Talia will be viewing us talking about them, I didn't know if you wanted them to have that knowledge before they do their recall, or whether we talk about it all together at the end.
Well, I'll pass that over to our actors, though. I'll pass those over to our actors.
Okay, all right then. So I will message them during this. We'll go from there. We'll play a few clips, and then you'll see me pop back in if we have time for discussion there.
And we'll just call it just feedback quickly.
Perfect. Let's do that. All right, Cass, we're ready for those first 2 clips. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Maria Crystal Mello. Ooh, spicy McNuggets? Oh, I am in.
Just like that? Have you no loyalty?
To who?
To regular McNuggets.
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you like spicy McNuggets and you just don't know it yet?
New spicy chicken McNuggets. I guess I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
Hi, my name is Maria Crystal Mello. Ooh, spicy McNuggets? Oh, I am in.
Just like that? Have you no loyalty?
To who?
To regular McNuggets.
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
What if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you like spicy McNuggets and you just don't know it yet?
No spicy chicken McNuggets. I guess I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
Hey, I'm Talia Gonzalez-Kane.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets. I am in.
Just like that. Have you no loyalty
To who?
to regular McNuggets?
You know, they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy McNuggets and just don't know it yet?
I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets. I am in.
Just like that. Have you no loyalty
To who?
to regular McNuggets?
You know they don't have feelings, right? Well, I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
Oh, but what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy McNuggets and just don't know it yet?
I could try one of yours just to be sure.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
All right, thank you so much for those self-tapes, ladies. Shasta, feel free to come back. We just have a few seconds here. And we would love to hear any feedback that you have based on if you were seeing those in your office or whatnot, and you hadn't done your recall yet, what would your impressions of those be? We'd love to hear any raw thoughts on that.
Cool. I'll just be really quick, so when we send out self-tape requests, we also have self-tape instructions. So I just want to say, I think this is something that gets missed in the actual self-tapes, and that's something that I'm looking for. So we had requested that the performer speak to somebody, that they would be seated or appear to be seated, and chatting to a friend. So both of these ladies did this really well, and they had their resting face. You know, like when you know somebody, you don't just have to chat to them, full stop. And so I think that they really did that really well. And I think the listening I was able to see from both performers. A lot of times we're looking at tapes and I feel like people are just doing their lines and that they're not listening or reacting. In terms of both of the gals and what I saw, Talia's backdrop, I felt that it was very clean. And Maria, I felt like it was a little bit dark. But I just want to say that, guys, at the very end of the day, this is all about the acting. So if this, like, don't stress about the actual space. I know you guys are doing your best. We all know you are. Just get the performance right. Don't lose sleep over the backdrop.
That is very reassuring to hear, Shasta. Definitely something that adds to the thing that in the actor brain that makes us wear all those hats. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to disappear now. We're going to invite Maria, Crystal, and Talia in, and then I'll pop back in once you're done with the two of those, and we'll move on to our second pairing.
So are we going to be spotlighting the two performers so we can see them all at the same time?
The attendees will see them spotlit, is my understanding.
Oh, okay. And that's not an option for me?
That's something that our behind the scenes team, I think, would be working on. But at the moment, no, it's just the boxes that we all see on our panelist view.
Okay, cool. So let me just see if I can just change this view, just because right now I can't see the performers together at all. Okay. So I guess the number one thing is, guys, for our recall, is that do you guys know which role you guys are playing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. And do you know where you are in terms of being able to look at each other? Because I think that helps if you're playing somebody over here, but they're here on the spotlit screen. I think that's really important to know. Yeah, you guys know where you are?
I'm assuming this side, but I don't know.
Exactly, Maria. Yeah, and it's from what I'm seeing. And T, you're looking over at Maria, who's over on this side. So I think what we do right now is why don't we just try one as it is, and I'm not going to say anything. Let's just have a first pass, a first free pass.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets. Oh, I am in.
Just like that. Have you no loyalty
To who?
to regular McNuggets?
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. You don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you like spicy McNuggets and you just don't know it yet?
I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Great job, ladies. So let's try it again. I would just say what I'd love to do is just pick up the pace just a little bit. Maria, for you as well, it comes across as a little bit whispery. And so just kind of talk in your own voice and let's just kind of pick it up just a little bit. Talia, am I saying that right?
Talia.
Talia, I think what would be kind of fun for us as well is I love how you're a little bit annoyed. I think that's kind of a fun place for you guys to take it. Like maybe both you and Maria are like siblings or something like that. And I think that when you know each other, you can probably speak a little bit faster. Maybe one of you goes in to reach for the McNugget. You know, I know that the director here is looking for something that is kind of fun. And without putting any pressure on you guys, is that if you want to kind of make it your own, maybe there's like a little button or like, hey, like maybe there's like a little improv at the end or a little like you're a jerk or whatever kind of makes sense. No pressure, but it helps stand out a little bit and makes these characters a little bit more believable. So let's try it again. Whenever you guys are ready.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets. Oh, I am in.
Just like that. Have you no loyalty? Come on.
To who?
Regular McNuggets.
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. You don't mess with perfection. Perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you like spicy McNuggets, but you just don't know it yet?
Well, I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought. Spice hog.
Yeah, guys, I thought that was really good. Really great listening. I love the eating through. It just seems kind of really real. Maria, good listening to pick this up. I think the number one thing for these auditions is listening, because you know you have something prepared and then all of a sudden the director's like, could you switch roles for me, you know? And so you know you've practiced it a certain way and then they're like you know, why don't you guys try it more angry, or maybe you're talking about a guy, or and so that's the number one thing to be able to do to have a successful recall. Because, you know, this director is kind of showing off for the agency about what they're going to be able to do, and never do the same audition twice. Just little tiny changes. But I thought that was a really good job.
Thank you so much, ladies. And we'll see you again later on, perhaps. Thank you so much. And Shasta, we're going to transition now into you sharing any feedback regarding the recalls, anything regarding that you'd like to share, any observations that you didn't share in that you would behind the scenes perhaps share as notes.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the number one thing that we're seeing in Zoom recalls is that one, when you're in that waiting room, our cameraman, who is so stressed because he's doing so many things, is that when you come into the room that you are ready to go. So it was great that Talia and Maria were ready. They have their names so we can see who's in the waiting room. And a lot of times, especially with kids, is that they're using their parents' Zoom. Or they're using, maybe we're looking for Joe Napo, but it just says Joe Smith. And so we don't know if that's them. So having your name and coming in landscape versus portrait, because we have so little time and we can run behind. There's nothing more annoying than okay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Yeah, can you just turn your camera? So you should have a little practice beforehand, especially if you haven't done that many Zooms. Be prepared. Do a practice. It really
That's
helps.
all great advice. Yeah. And just as if you wouldn't go to a voice audition without talking in the day, you got to work through something just to make sure you're ready to go. So that's great. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're going to move to our
Can I say one more thing? Is that
Please.
sometimes the session runner, myself, or the cameraman may drop a little note into the chat. So pay attention to that, because something may have come up where the director's like, gosh, it would be really great if they had a mug. And it's like, we haven't told you that. And, thankfully you are at home and hopefully you've got access to a mug. But it's like sometimes when you come back in and it's like, hey, did you get the message? And you're like, oh, no, sorry, I didn't. And so now we have to wait for you to get a mug. So if possible, have a little look at the notes section.
That's really great advice too. I guess that is one of the benefits of doing this over Zoom, is that we have that opportunity to sort of in private messaging just to make it that much more clean for your viewers.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Just a little housekeeping note before we continue with our second pairing. Folks, we love your questions, but please feel free to add them to the Q&A function. I'm seeing some of them pop up in the chat, and that's not where we're going to be facilitating that. So please do add them to Q&A. We'll have a larger Q&A at the end of this session. All right. So now we're going to go into our second pairing. We'll be seeing Cato Alexander and Mladen Obradovic. I'm going to take myself off just like before, and we'll follow the same format, Shasta, and we'll see you in a few seconds. Thanks, Cass. Go ahead with the videos.
Hey, I'm Cato Alexander.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets, I am in.
Just like that? Having no loyalty?
To who?
To regular McNuggets.
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour on the spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I am sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy McNuggets and you just don't know it yet?
I guess I could try one of yours to find out.
I only have 6.
Hi, I'm Mladen Obradovic. I'm reading for Drew.
Yeah, spicy McNuggets, I'm in.
Have you no loyalty?
Who?
To regular McNuggets.
Yeah, they don't have feelings, right? Hey, I'm taking a little detour, spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking with the classics. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spicy makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy McNuggets and just don't know it yet? New spicy chicken nuggets.
Well, I could try one of yours just to find out.
What? No, I only have 6. No.
Hi, I'm Mladen Obradovic. I'm reading for Drew.
Oh, spicy McNuggets, I'm in.
Have you no loyalty?
To who?
To regular McNuggets.
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm taking a little detour, a spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking with the classics. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spicy makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy McNuggets and just don't know it yet? New spicy chicken nugget, please.
I guess I could try one of yours just to find out.
No. I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
All right, we viewed the second pairing self-tapes. Cato, you can just turn off your camera just for a moment. And Mladen, we're just going to share a few thoughts before the two of you join us. Thank you so much. So Mladen, just turn off your camera just for a moment. Thank you so much. And Shasta, any raw thoughts on those two self-tapes? Anything that you would have observed when you were looking at them for the first time in your office?
Yeah, I mean, just one thing is that, you know, we understand that you like to get a reader is like, oh, thank God your friend decided to read with you. And I know that everybody, you know, you might have a husband that's a reader or a friend, or maybe you have a professional actor, which is great. But if you don't have a professional reader, keep in mind, do not let them steal the show. They are just serving a purpose there. So you've got something to listen to, something to play off of. In Mladen's audition, I felt like he was matching the volume of the reader. So it's really important just that that reader is a function. And I think that in terms of both tapes, keep in mind that this is a commercial. While you don't have to be to 30 seconds, I think that if we were to look at the running time of those, I think that they would be well over a minute.
Oh,
so
interesting. Okay.
I think tighter is smarter.
Yeah. Did I observe, and perhaps I'm mistaken there, that in the first set, that we actually didn't see 2 full takes? Did I see that correctly?
So Cato only did 1 take, which was
Okay.
very disappointing. And I feel like just in general, I felt like it was a little bit too animated and too slow. And so a second take would have been great to show me 2 different options. And then for Mladen, we definitely got 2 takes, but both of them didn't pay attention to the self-tape instructions, which is your friend is beside you. And so that would have helped a lot, because I felt like Mladen was projecting too far as opposed to just talking to a buddy. And that Cato, the same thing. I felt like he was, it would have been smarter just to have somebody, it might have been a little bit quicker.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for that feedback. And just to share for our 2 performers, you know, this is the place to hear that type of feedback is better now in practice than in front of a client or whatnot. So we are thankful for their submissions, and we're very happy that they were able to provide that for us. So I'm going to get out of your way, and you can go ahead, Shasta, and lead the second round. So here we go.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you so much. Welcome to your recall. Mladen, I think we had this conversation right out of the gate. Is there any way that you could go to a landscape as opposed to a portrait? It allows us to see a bit more of you. Perfect. So that's how we want you coming into the room. And then just guys, just a little bit of feedback in terms of both of your auditions is that the self-tape specifically said that you guys were sitting on a bench chatting to your buddy. So those little things I think are important to pay attention to. Mladen, once you're sorted, do you and Cato know the roles that you're playing and where you guys are in terms of being spotlight together?
Yeah.
My only question would be, so you don't want me looking at him in the screen here? You want me to pretend he's right here?
Yes, I would love for, like, I mean, the great thing is that when you know somebody, you don't have to just kind of spend the whole time like that, because we're not going to see your face. But like when you know somebody, you can be like, dude, you know, I can't believe you're eating that on me, or like, why did you, why did you leave early on Friday night? I thought that was kind of a bit of a jerk reaction. I don't think you always have to be 100% engaged with that performer, but
Okay.
we would, because you're probably going to be shot a lot in profile. We want to see a little bit of what that looks like. And then also, it's as you get to the recall, we're starting to build chemistry. So even though we're not in the room together, we're in the room together. So let's just see what it looks like. Why don't we try one? And whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready for you.
Sure.
And go ahead.
Ooh, spicy McNuggets, I am in.
Just like that? Have you no loyalty
To who?
to regular McNuggets?
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour on the spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking with the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you love spicy, but you just don't know it yet?
Great, guys. I mean, listen, I think for us, for the viewers, keep in mind, like, there's the agency, the director and stuff. The natural way that you guys both ate and then talked through it, it just seemed very realistic. I would say still, I feel like these are drawn out. I feel like you are waiting for each person to say their lines, and I think that it's okay for it to be a little quicker. And even if you jump on somebody, that's how normal conversation is. So let's try it again. Let's just pick up the pace a little bit. Don't draw it out. And then Mladen, I would say that for your recall, if we were to do this again, I want you to be able to, I want to see a little bit more of you. Right now you're just ahead, whereas before your first audition, it was too much. Now this is a bit too tight. Wouldn't mind seeing just a bit more of you. That's awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, why don't we try it again? Let's just pick up the pace a little bit. And whenever you're ready.
Ooh, spicy nuggets, I am in.
Just like that? Have you no loyalty
To who?
to regular McNuggets?
You know they don't have feelings, right? I'm just taking a little detour on the spicy side road, if you will.
Well, I'm sticking with the classics. Don't mess with perfection.
But what if spice makes perfection more perfect? Huh? What if you love spicy, but you just don't know yet?
Well, I could try one of yours just to find out.
I only have 6.
That's what I thought.
Okay, guys. So that second take was really great. Cato, I just love how you're disinterested. I love your little beat, your little button there of improv there, Mladen. I think that's great. I love you guys eating. The only thing I would say, Mladen, is I still feel like you are projecting. And even for you a little bit, Cato, is just remember, it's very conversational. I feel like even I'm shouting right now. I don't even know how you actors do this, but I would just keep it a little smaller because the scene is you are right beside each other. So good second take.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, gentlemen. We'll say goodbye for now. And I wanted to say thank you to all 4 of our actors. Now that we've seen these contenders and the recalls have been, in theory taped, Shasta, what happens next? What happens from the casting and production side? Who makes the next decisions? What happens at this point behind the scenes that actors don't see? Help us understand this process.
Cool. Well, I just want to say, first of all, if you guys get a recall, you're doing something right. And then everything else is just really up to the gods. So just keep in mind, before, when we were in studio, we could definitely see more people. Right now, for me, we're kind of thinking 1 slot every 10 minutes, depending on how big the scene is. Now, if you do just a normal day, that's 36 slots plus a 1-hour lunch if we're running on time. Sometimes you could bring somebody in and see a couple more people, but just know that we are definitely seeing less people. Our clients are, a positive thing is that they're being more, like less actors are being recalled just because of the costs of COVID. So we're definitely, you still have some Americans that are doing like the all back, but I would say that there's less actors being called. So if you get a recall, you've done something. So now what happens? It is the director who will, at the very end of the session, chat about some of the people that stood out. And then the agency will weigh in. And now it just comes down to this specific one was open to either gender. And my clients are going to be looking at things such as, what works best? Like, we didn't expect this, but these guys, it felt like a little bit romantic, which is not what we're going for. Or these guys were great. So now we've got 4 to 6 people for the 2 people that we're looking for. We put a tape together based on the best takes. Just quickly, when you guys are in a recall and something screws up, whether it's audio or you forget your lines or something, like, just know we just hit a button and it's like it is erased. So don't beat yourself up. We can really correct that really quickly.
That is very reassuring. Yeah.
Yeah. So just like we can just be like, yeah, no problem. Because like they're literally just hitting a button and then we can just kind of start again. So we want good takes. If you can fight your way through it, you can fight your way through it. I think it's so important that we get the character right. I'm sure the copywriter guy in the commercial is like, he wants the words right, but don't worry about getting the words right. Just get the character right. That is the most
That's really good to know
thing.
too. That's often my question, if I've got very specific wording. I mean, and I'm told by a number of instructors or coaches, they spent all that time getting those words correct, but then you hear the opposite sometimes. And you just gotta, as you said earlier, I think the key is listening. Once you hear something from the casting director in the room, that becomes the new important thing to remember.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're not going to pay attention. Like, I mean, listen, if you screw up the name of the client, I mean, obviously that's going to be pretty huge.
Right.
But I don't think they're looking for the exact words, and sometimes, let's face it, some of these scripts are dreadful. And so we're looking for somebody to elevate them, to help us create something. Something has come up in the chat, which is improvisation, which we decided not to ask any performers to include in their self-tapes. You can improvise as long as a script is provided. And when we say the word improvise, I think people get a little bit afraid. We're not looking for a new script. We're looking for, or something at the end that kind of helps things along. And obviously people that have that training, it's more helpful. And if you don't, you don't. But I know certainly in the commercial world, something that's been coming up for ages is, nuanced, comedic. And comedic is not like funny, ha-ha, brand new scripts. It's little beats, it's little buttons, it's little nuances. It's making this character your own. And it is allowable to do and to ask for as long as a script is provided.
That's really good to remember. Yeah. So speaking of takes, you in the instructions, this very specifically laid out asking for 2 takes. And the second one, as you've mentioned earlier, we're doing our best to give them just something either completely different or slightly different, somewhere between there. And we have some questions coming up regarding what is standard. And of course, standard is sort of different, but depending on which casting director we're talking to. But when it's coming from you, Shasta, if you don't say, give me 2 takes, do you only want 1 take, or is the unspoken standard to give 2 takes?
The unspoken standard is 2 takes.
Okay. And is that, we're talking specifically about commercials though right now?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now listen, I have had 1 take because it's like there's 3 scenes. I can get my head around that.
Right. Because it's more content for you to view and such.
Exactly.
Right.
But like we had some tapes the other day that came in from children, like, I mean, 8 to 12-year-olds, and they had a line. And I would say that 50% of these tapes were one take only, and some of the longest ones were 7 seconds. It is not enough
Wow.
time for us to make a choice.
No, for sure.
And just imagine, like, you're looking at a whole bunch of tapes. Like, imagine you're doing what I'm doing, which I just want to remind you is just a job. I'm nobody special. It just happens to be the job that I have. And so, when you're looking at tapes, and it's the same thing as being in studio, is that when you come in and it's the same thing, it's those people that do something a little bit different. Whether that's they have a beat in between a line, or an eyebrow raise, or something like that. Those are the ones that stand out.
We all want to be that person. That's wonderful to hear. All right. A few more questions coming in. Technically speaking, as was in this instruction, your friend is beside you on the bench, but you're not to play directly to them, because then you'd see an actor completely in profile. A few actors are wondering, is any profile okay? Just the slightest profile?
No, absolutely. No, when we know that when we say to you that your friend is on a bench, that we know that we're going to see some profile.
At some point, you would naturally go like this,
Absolutely,
make a point or something. Yeah.
Even if it's the very end where it's just like,
yeah,
and take that McNugget and shove it in your pie hole.
Of course, yeah.
It's totally fine. Obviously, what we don't want is full on this way, but that wouldn't be natural anyhow. If you and your friend are out and you've got your McDonald's there on the tray, you're just kind of and you're talking or whatever. Like, what do you mean you're doing that? Like, I don't think so. You have to be aware of what you look like on camera.
Of course, no, for sure.
And two people speaking, like kind of how you and I are, we're not just going to look at each other for the whole time.
No, that's, it wouldn't be natural for me to just stare down your eyeballs constantly. Yeah, for sure. All right, great. All right, a technical question. And this is a question that I've had personally, so I'm very curious to hear your answer. When we are submitting to casting those 2 takes, commercial land, do you want those 2 takes on separate files or on one file? We had both today, and we were interested to see what your take on that would have been. Part of the pun.
You know what? I'll be straight up. I think if it was just on one file, it would be a lot easier. I could just go right through.
Okay, good to know. Yeah.
As opposed to having to go down to a different separate take and hit the button.
Yeah, and I think that comes
easier.
Yeah, that's perfectly valid. I think for some people, and we might be veering into TV and film land for this, so pardon me for that, but I think for some people the thought may have been, oh, what if they only want to submit one of my takes to the client and they don't want the client to see the other version because it might somehow dissuade from the performance I've given in the one they like the most.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the same thing of like, oh, should I wear the same thing that I wore for my
That's
audition?
always the thing we're told. Yeah.
I think, first of all, if I'm sending you through, it's not because I like one take better. It's because I'm sending you through. You did a great job. You followed the instructions. You brought something special. You're in the right age range. For me, also, because it's not just my clients looking at the tape, the initial vetting is so painful. It would be great if it just all flew through, and then I knew that and that, oh, there is a second take. Oh, thank God.
Oh, good.
No.
That's good to know. Yeah. All right. That aside, we didn't do it today, but what are just some of your tips and tricks, if you don't mind sharing, for auditioning for SOC roles? We don't have any script to work with. It's just our reactions and our bodies. Sometimes it's only a few seconds long. Is there anything we can sort of have as a takeaway to put our SOC place in a better light for casting?
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's something that's going to blow your mind. You can talk.
What? Mine, actually, I'm not even joking. Please tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that, like, just let's just come up with a scenario right now. So I'm just gonna kind of make this up. Is that it's a Rogers commercial. You're sitting there on the couch with your partner, friend, whatever, and they're like, "This show's amazing," and you're just supposed to be kind of like deadpan kind of look. I think that you could be like, or
Something that would naturally come to you at that moment?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, there is a 1% chance that when we get to recalls, they may be like, could we try it with no dialogue? Because it costs more to hire a principal performer.
Ah,
But
okay.
I've always been amazed when I'm looking at tapes and, people are, they're talking, but I can't hear them because it's an SOC role. So their lips are moving, but there's nothing coming out. I would just say, I think you commit to that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I think that you should say something that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think it really helps. I think pretending that you're speaking does not work at all. I think that if it feels right and it would be like, oh, then go for it. I mean, sometimes we'll also just listen to the tapes because we know it's SOC with no volume on. So if that helps you as a performer to like, really, I would go for it.
That's interesting to know, and quite freeing actually when you think about that, because often I feel if I am auditioning for something SOC, and perhaps other performers are in the same boat, that I actually feel less natural than the truncating what I would perhaps utter or explain.
I think an utter is totally fine. Like you're in a Tim Hortons ad and you see like a friend, it's like an SOC role, you see a friend in line and it's like, I think you can be like, hey, it's SOC. That's just the category of performance. That should not be the category of audition.
Interesting. That's really freeing. Thank you for that. All right. Back to the chat window now. I believe this might be Coach Miriam Lawrence asking this question, and it's a very expertise related angled question. So I will ask your question, Miriam. Thank you. Now, in terms of your audition placement physically in the Zoom room or whatnot, I'll give you a visual representation of, I think, what she's asking here. If I'm on a bench and it's sort of this way, but I've angled my body away so that I'm actually turning towards the friend and you see more of my face, would this be a better choice for the actor?
I think that's a good choice.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I think that's a good choice. Like, I mean, I think the whole thing is it's a little bit tricky, and I don't want to say that one thing is what you do every time.
Of course, yeah. We don't want to make blanket statements and rules.
Yeah. Like we just did a big Bell campaign, and it specifically says do not play to camera on the notes. Like pick somewhere else, just a little off, and almost 90% of the people played to camera. So it's just like, just look at those notes, try and figure it yourself. Miriam, that's a really good kind of idea, Like for instance, if I were to bring you into the studio and it's like a car scene, I probably would try two things. I would try this, or and then engaging with like, hey, you jerk, hurry up and move on. Or I might try this and like, hey, you jerk, hurry up and move on. So that's why that second take is really great.
That sounds great. You can show a different choice of even just that slight difference.
It really is all about the choice. And it's those little smalls of like, oh, I haven't seen that before. It's very subtle. It's unconscious.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, that's different. I'm going to pass that through.
Great. Okay. All right. Back to our questions here. When we're submitting a self-tape, we're using whatever device we use for our camera. So that's secondary. And then we focus on, if we've gotten the recall, how important is it to be on an actual laptop or computer versus say a tablet or a phone in terms of what you see from the casting perspective?
Do you know what's not fair? It's not fair when you are required to have a phone in your hand and you're using your phone.
And that's your device that you use.
Exactly. So I would just say, number one, in terms of quality, I'm pretty sure that a phone works better.
Oh, okay.
And it's clearer than say this.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to, as long as we can see you and hear you, that's really what we're going for. Let's get the acting right. What you need to be prepared for is the director saying, can you stand up? Can you enter in? Is there any way that you can go back a bit? Very similar to what I had said to Mladen, and he was able to adjust that. It's like, when you decide and make the choice that, the quietest room in your house is your shower and you can't go anywhere else, it's a bit tricky. So I would just say, just do your best on whatever device you need. And if there's, don't feel awkward if you're like, I can do this, but this is going to take a minute. We understand what we're
Yeah,
asking
for
of
sure.
you. Don't stress over that. We're just kind of like, oh, rock star, that's so amazing that we can see a little bit more of them.
Love that.
Do not stress.
If I'm gonna take a few quotables from this session, I think "I love you, do not stress" is definitely going to be one of them. So that'll be in my notes for the future.
Yeah.
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 All right. So in terms of slates for our auditions, people have been, from what I've seen, doing two methods, actually two methods, but separate. So either they do a title card, a physical card that says the information you need, or they actually come on and say, "Hi, I'm such and such," and then it goes away and we see their character. Do you have a preference for whether they actually introduce themselves out of character on the self-tape, or whether you just rather see the title card and go into the work?
First of all, I just want to say that after doing this for almost 30 years, I know who you are.
Good point.
So anything that, and I've called you in, I have actually, that's the one thing I have 100% done is I've just been like, yep, that's who I want to see.
That's interesting.
And so I think that it's really important that anything we can do to tighten up that tape
Interesting.
would be great. And I don't want to say what do I prefer, because I already know that I am asking a lot from you guys in terms of getting a tape for me. So I'll take whatever you give me. Of course it looks pretty with a nice slate. I mean, of course it looks.
You mean the physical card with the letters on it? And such,
Of course it looks amazing. And I can say this, is that what I don't need is I do not need profiles.
Sort of the
I do not
hand and deliver,
need to know your agency. Unless I've asked, I do not need to see hands. And then just in terms of going to hands, there's a reason we're asking for that. And it's because you're holding the product, or you're holding the burger, or you're holding the Advil bottle. And a hand shot is like this, not like this.
really, really nice and close up, sort of.
Yeah, not like this. It's like, and
Really
I just want to know, like, do you have a crazy tattoo here? Do you have all your fingers? That's what my client's looking for. So whatever you can do. Sometimes I see some slates and I'm just like, I am just dying. It is taking so long. I know who you are.
Yeah, just tighten it up is what I'm getting my takeaway from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference whether the information that we do provide, sort of that just very basic, just my name and the role, let's say, do you have a preference whether that's at the top or at the end of the takes?
It should be at the very top. And also, I don't need to know the role. I know the role, because the way you guys are coming in is that I've called this out as doctor, mom, kid in car, right? So I know what that role is. I know that in film, I think that's how you guys do it. And so I'm just a lowly casting director in commercials. So it may be different, but I know the role that you are. Tighten up that slate. I can tell you what you can do for me. And it's been a little bit of a bone of contention. And it's super frustrating on my end administratively. Before COVID, you guys would come in and you'd fill in your information. So I have an email address for you, a telephone number. I have your current sizes. And then also this whole vaccination thing in Ontario. I would say that only 85% of people are filling out our paperwork. And I can assure you that I'm in a recall, and the director, because we can't tell how tall you are and we don't want to waste time and ask, is that I can just do a quick little look at that sheet that you filled in, and sometimes you haven't filled it in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or they're asking me for sizes in anticipation of booking. And I can't find your sizes. So now I have to go to the agent. And it's really, I beg you, please fill out our paperwork. We're not trying to get you to do this, as a make work project. We really need it. And it's super annoying having to chase this information down. The hardest job in this business is locations, casting, and wardrobe. These poor wardrobe people do not get enough time to do their job, and they just want to make you look good. And having to hunt this down sucks.
All right. Thank you. Yes, provide, if they've asked for the information, there's a reason. So let's get that to them for sure.
Oh, I beg you. Thank you so much.
For sure. So we're getting a lot of help, but we're hoping to help both sides of this equation here
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Absolutely. This is,
Yeah.
I'm here also for me.
Yeah, for sure. This is a partnership. And I think that's something that a lot of us actors, we think, you know, when it is physically on the other side of the table, it feels like a divide sometimes, but truly we're in the room together to create something that gets us both the job ultimately.
Oh God, I've said this so many times. Without you, I'm nothing. Like I am auditioning for each project as well. You know, like Shasta, thank you for bringing us some fresh faces. Thank you for bringing this amazing ringer. Thanks for being able to share more information about this person. So I'm auditioning for every job, and anybody that you know, it's just not book and bank them. Every job is hard to get.
For sure. Yeah.
Competitive.
Now we've talked a lot about slates, but we have a few very I think should be really quick answer technical questions regarding slates before we can hopefully move into some other territory. But if and I think this is a question not just for slates. I think this is actually for the audition itself. Unless it specifies what frame you want for the slate and for the content of the clip, what frame are you looking for unless it's specified? What's sort of standard?
Medium frame.
And is that sort of what I'm doing here, or would it be lower, or where would that be? Just so that for those of us that don't know what that
I
means.
would say nothing above your head.
Oh, yeah.
I would say something like this would be normal.
Okay, great. And then good to know. Perfect. And then if someone did decide to put in two separate clips, it makes sense that they would slate in both of those clips because they're considered two auditions, or would you just prefer everyone just put it on the same clip?
Good God, just one. And you know, I saw something scathingly brilliant that a lot of actors have been doing is that they have a full body, does not need to match what you're currently wearing. It's just like, and so you do your slate. Hey there, how's it going? I'm Shasta Lutz. And then there's just like a quick little full body. So it's not somebody walking back or the camera going down, which we see a lot, and then coming back up. It's just a quick little shot just to give us a visual of what that body type looks like.
Great. Okay. Talking about the after process again. So they've done the self-tapes, we've done the recalls. What happens when you've got the say 4 to 6 people that you've selected as sort of your top picks to be pitched essentially? Is the client part of already having seen that? I know in the past when I've been in the room, sometimes for recall, a client is actually present in some capacity. Is that still something that happens, or are they sort of way after the
client? Process? Yeah, it's not a client. I mean, there is the 1% nightmare of an actual client being there, which is, oh God, nobody wants that.
So would it be the director or a producer that we're seeing on the other side who's not you?
So you're seeing the casting team, then you're seeing the production team of the director and the producer, and then you're seeing the ad agency of the creatives and the producer. That's all you should be seeing. Sometimes there's like, you know, an account person might want to come in, or sometimes there's somebody who's shadowing a director, but there should be no client there. It's a nightmare if there is. It's the last thing we want. And so what happens at the very end of the session is that we review the performances. We put together an edit. That edit goes usually to somebody higher up in the agency, like a creative director, depending on the level of experience of the creative team that we're working with. There's like, it's called something, but they're just kind of higher up to be like, yeah, we think that we can sell that to our client, or guys, you have not hit the mark here in terms of what they were asking for, or I don't like that performance, or, and so then we might do a little bit of a change up, and then that final link goes to the client, and it is literally sold by the agency
to their client.
Yeah, like and like little notes, like we really thought that this person was friendly, you know. The director thought this person was a really good actor, like because they're auditioning too, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, usually we have, you know, first and second choices, and they're just margins of differences, and a lot of times this is coming down to what the entire commercial looks like. And certainly at the top of clients' minds right now is ethnicity.
Okay,
So
yes.
there's definitely a bit of an overcorrection that is happening. This is a good thing that we are here. But I also want to be completely honest. Sometimes the best person does not get the job.
Okay, interesting.
And so, like I said, if you have a recall, you've done something really great. Keep going.
So focus on that for sure.
Focus
Yeah.
on that. That is the win.
Okay. And just for the big picture thinkers, the linear thinkers, the visual thinkers, the client, let's say McDonald's, hires an agency who hires you, who brings in us to audition. When we audition, you make decisions based on who you think the agency will then pitch back to their client, and then they get the job. Do I have that right?
Yeah, essentially. So we either are hired through the agency or through the director that we've been working with. So we understand when they say we want like a real people feel, we know they want models. So
Real people on a pretty day.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we kind of know who they are.
Right.
Our only you know our ability is we can choose who gets where the entry gate into the room and to the client. But at the end of the day, I mean, sometimes my director will be like, "Hey, Shast, what do you think?" But usually they don't. They are now leading about who they like. So a good director will incorporate me into the conversation, but it really is. I've just sat back and said nothing as I watch these guys fight over who they like.
Wow. To be
Absolutely.
a fly on the wall of that room would be very interesting.
It is, and it's just kind of like it's like a little uncomfortable. And I personally think that the director should get their choice. But often, what will happen is that the agency knows what will sell, or they're afraid of, choices. I was working with this amazing director. We had this guy who had a bit of COVID hair, and a lot of panicking from the agency, like, "Oh, can we sell that through?" And I'm just like, yeah, of course we can sell that through. Somebody could get a hair trim. And my director was like, no, he looks amazing. The reason why you're uncomfortable with this is that because it just hasn't been seen before. And everybody was like, oh. So having a leader like that to make sure that we have contemporary real casting is
and and I hesitate now to say real people, because from what I hear, that's industry speak for models, but just natural everyday people.
No, it's just so you know, I was just teasing. I was just saying that, when your director, like I work with this.
When you know the specific person, what they think.
When they say character, I know like they really mean character.
Okay, yes, okay.
But somebody will be like, a bit of a character, and then they're like, well, we need, more models, and it's just like you know who they are.
Yes, okay. You know who to call upon. That makes sense.
Exactly. No, real people is just like normal looking people like you and I.
Wonderful. Love it. All right. Okay. So speaking of creators, creative types, artists and whatnot, actors are storytellers. And there's a very interesting question that I'd love to pose to you because I'm very curious about your answer. And I think I already know it, but I'd love to hear your take on it. Sometimes people have the facility or the resource to actually create the commercial or their version of it in their self-tape. So they're actually going to cut their version of the commercial in a self-tape, a 30-second commercial, but based on the instructions they've been given. Do you want that? Or do you want it just neutral, background, bare bones, exactly what's asked for? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that is a negative or something I would worry about is what if that's not what they're looking for?
Yes.
Right? What if that is not what they're looking for? It's also the other side of taking chances. I would say, you know what? I would say they do not deserve that effort. They should be paying for that effort. Give us the character and then let production make this happen. Now, in fairness, I did see one amazing tape that had an effect, and I'm pretty sure this person maybe had like a little fan and they did it in slow motion. I was so blown away by this. I was just like, look at this. This was just amazing because it was one of those like aha moments, like where you're like, and I just thought it was so smart and so brilliant.
As long as it's simple and doesn't distract from the rest is what I'm hearing from that.
Yeah, and also like, we're not paying you to do all of this.
Very good point.
I know how hard it is. get the acting right in the best environment that you can. Do yourself a favor and be prepared in terms of what the dialogue is, and really have read those self-tape instructions. That's all I'm going to ask for. If
Yes.
there's a little extra, it does make my day, don't get me wrong, but I would worry that, you're not in their heads of what they want.
It's very true.
And that could be a mistake that doesn't get you a recall.
For sure. And there's something to be said, I guess, about taking that energy and effort that would have been done to create that commercial, putting it into being very specific with your choices, fully investing in the instructions, and then allowing the person on the other side of it to make up their mind and then redirect you if necessary, if you're in the callback situation.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to explain this is like, it's like a first date. Like, leave them wanting more. If you give them everything, like, I would just say leave them wanting a little bit more. Give them a nice little taste, a tease, like, oh, that was really nice. I wonder what else they can do. That will get you to a recall.
Wonderful. And we all want to be there.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of those 2 takes that we're initially submitting as part of our self-tape, how different should our second one be? Should it be
Not
completely
that
different or
different.
just subtly different?
Just subtly different.
Okay.
Smaller. Whether that's the cadence of something, whether that's just a different way of doing it. We're not looking for something that is so bizarre, unless we were to say, and this has happened quite a bit, is that there's been some commercials of late in which you're playing 2 different versions of yourself. If that is the case, or in this McDonald's audition, there were 2 different characters. There was one that was a bit dry, and there was, and there was one that was a bit this. So unless it's asked for, the differences are just smaller. Maybe it's just a little quicker. Maybe it's just a little bit of add a little bit more funny,
For sure. Turn up the funny just a little bit.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Wonderful advice. All right. This is a question that I haven't seen in a while, but it's a very relevant one because I at some point was not represented too. Will you entertain bringing someone in, seeing a self-tape if they're not represented?
Oh God, yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Oh yes, absolutely.
And through the channels, the proper channels. So they would use Casting Workbook as an unrepresented over Casting Networks as an unrepresented and submit self.
I mean, listen, this is what we do. I don't think that's the way to do this.
Okay.
So when we have a budget conscious job, or if we're looking for a unicorn, i.e. like an Irish accent or somebody who can double Dutch, or in the beginning of COVID, we were looking for, like a real family for like a WestJet commercial. Casting is posting on their social. And there is a spot there that if you have an agent or not, I think that's probably the best way, because that way for sure it will be looked at. I think that just sending an audition is like crashing, which is not appreciated.
Okay. Yeah.
And certainly, if stuff is coming to me, I can barely keep it up as it is. So it's, if you are going to do that, it better be absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I would just go through the channels of, hey, we're struggling here. We've got like a scale job. This role is perfect for you. Enter in through our social.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So they would reach out to you in that avenue.
No, we would post if we were struggling. So if
I see. They would see that post and then go on there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I see. So yeah, so they would see on Instagram or Facebook that you're looking for a certain thing based on the group that they're a member of, and then they would directly submit to you without.
There would be instructions on how to do that. So it means we're struggling, we're looking, we're nervous. Please help.
Gotcha. That being said, though, that brings up a follow-up question to that. So as a represented actor, I'm on those Facebook groups and I see those posts, but that channel is only for those unrepresented. Should I still submit if I have an agent in that way?
So this is a conversation between you and your agent. Your agent is submitting you for jobs that they think that you are good for, that you match the specs, that you match the rate. And what I am trying to do is I am trying to bypass your agent in that if I have a scale job, or if I'm doing a union PSA for heart and stroke, maybe your agent's not going to look at my breakdown, or maybe they're not interested. And it's very sad to me, because some of the very best creative our PSAs. And it's where we are now building relationships between you and I, because it's like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing that for us. I know it was just a session fee and waive residuals, but maybe your agent didn't submit you for that. So if I post this on social, like, hey, I'm doing a really cool Agency of the Year union video, and you come in that way, I'll still go through your agent. And if you were submitted, and you taped, I'll see you on this traditional side. And then if not, there's still an opportunity over here. So I'm pretty sure that an agent would be like, please don't torture me and call me about the posting that you saw. And I'll leave that to the agent and the performer. But basically what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get this job cast.
Yeah.
And I'm doing whatever I can do to throw at it, which could be a fresh new face, a real person that is legal to work here.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just trying to get the job cast.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, it is up to us to have that conversation with our agent as to the best way to approach that.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I would imagine if you've got a good agent that they're going to submit you for that, and I'll do my best to see you. But if I'm like, help, like my friend Steven's casting Finnish people, is that maybe they don't know that you can do a great accent, or because it's not on your resume, they don't know your background. And so we're posting to be like, help, please help us find somebody who can have a great Finnish accent.
Awesome. Okay, great. What if we are in a position where we've been steadily, somewhat regularly getting those auditions, taping those self-tapes and submitting them, but not getting any recalls? Is there something about, should we be looking towards what we're submitting and changing something quite aggressively, or just keep doing it? It's hard in commercials because we don't have feedback of any kind.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a big concern. If you're not getting recalls, you are doing something wrong.
Yeah, okay.
80% of the time. And that is, it's not standing out. Or there's, too many really similar things. So listen to what we've talked about today, which is how do you make this stand out? I say to people a lot, like, when's the last time you did some training?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, not really. I mean, for me, and I'm not trying to get anybody to spend money, but my directors want some kind of comedy training for a lot of the stuff.
That was going to be my question. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what a bad dog or an online this or a lot of times I'll see it says Second City, but it's they've just kind of stopped. But I'm telling you, it really helps performances. And so, then we also just hired somebody who's just had a terrible year. And they're amazing. Like, they are great. So feedback is something that you can request if you want the honest truth and if we have time to answer. I've always tried to be honest. Stephen Mann and I do a thing every year, or I do, called 15 Minutes with a Casting Director. It is honest advice in exchange for $20 to the food bank. And a couple of people that we talked to this year, they were like, they've just had better auditions, just a better understanding of what we're looking for.
Stay connected to training, stay connected to what's being asked of us. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Talk to your agent. I mean, I think actors forget that you've actually hired an agent. I think they feel like so lucky to have an agent.
For sure,
The person should have an opinion too. They should be, they're looking at the tapes. They've submitted the 20 to 30-year-olds for this. They know what's happening. And they also have an access to casting, which is how any kind of inquiry should come across. Like, I just chatted with an agent the other day. I made the time to look through the last 3 auditions and I said, nothing wrong with these tapes. They are fantastic.
Great. Yeah. I wonder too, in terms of you taking the time to do that for that specific case, you obviously can't possibly do that for every case. You don't have any time for that.
I can't. It would
But I'm wondering
that I respected, and hopefully we have a relationship, and it would be like, okay, why isn't so-and-so booking? And I was just easy to go, like, they went with a guy, you know what I mean? They had 2 women already, so they picked a man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they went with a more of a model type, but these are really good tapes, and there's confidence in knowing that you put out a good tape. Like, you should know.
And I'm wondering, in terms of those tapes, because you have access to them on the various websites, but
I
Do you
have a
watch our
history.
demos ever? Is that something you even
Oh,
watched?
yeah. If I don't know you, absolutely. You
Okay,
have to have
great.
some kind of moving picture there,
Gotcha.
especially if
Okay.
I don't know you. And
Right.
also, I'm in awe. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, like it's like, you know, when you're doing a dance or a singing audition and you bring somebody in, you're just like, holy crap, this person's amazing. I am in absolute awe of this talent.
Great. And now, if you don't know us and you don't know what our voice sounds like, and let's say you've done that and whatnot, this is, I think, actually a really important question, and a really, really I'm excited to hear your answer of it. If someone has an accent that isn't standard North American accent, should they mention it before auditioning? Should they even bother auditioning? Is that something that you can work with? I'm really, really excited to hear your answer on this one.
Listen, if you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I would just be, you know, accents are in the old days, you know, somebody with an accent, it was because, you know, you're advertising to like the Canadian market. So to have like an Aussie accent, it's not really going to work.
Hmm.
So there has to be, you would hope that that actor has some flexibility. They don't want like a UK accent for a Canadian market thing. But in 2022, I would say that it's definitely more open. Um, it's just, you know, when, like, for instance, if my clients are saying to me like, we really, you know, this is an American national, we want American, I'm like, well, how do you think, like, does Ryan Reynolds speak okay for you? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you know, it's you know, we might need a little bit of fine tuning with our Canadian accent as well. But I feel like anytime you ask somebody to speak American, it's just a disaster unless you're super, super experienced. I just think that right now there's we're more open to accents, especially in BIPOC. I had a bit of a disaster where my client was like, "Oh, we don't want any accents," and I was just like, "Well, then how can we want BIPOC?" So this is like a changing kind of thing. I would just send your tape in and just
Yeah,
do the best audition that you can.
for sure. We only have about 2 minutes left. I have a question that I'd really like to ask regarding, and I think we've already touched on this here and there, but it's regarding the technical aspects versus the creative aspects of what we're doing for you as an artist in this self-tape. How important are the technical aspects, the professional quality tape? What are some deal breakers, if there are any? And what are some things that you can let slide within that self-tape, that initial thing that you see, and then you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it hasn't been completely clear since we started at 9 a.m., is that we understand that you are in a home that probably has other people or a dog or a husband coming in to ask if lunch is ready, you know, or shitty weather. Um, get the acting right and then just do the best for the other things that you can do, because it's the acting that stands out. There, you know, we had a recall and this poor guy was in his basement with, like, literally it looked like a Dexter kill room. It was like pink insulation and black
Yeah.
It was the only place this guy could go.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny. It was light. We felt for this guy.
Which really what it looks like on the other side of this door, by the way, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, you know, at the very beginning of this, there was, like, you know, crazy shower curtains and stuff. Just, I said to my girlfriend Lee, who was doing an audition, and she was quite, you know, proud that she had picked up a backdrop and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, that's great, but it's the acting that is the most important thing here. Just get your lines right. We can work with everything else. We understand what we're asking you guys to do.
With that sentiment, Shasta, we thank you for all of that wisdom and for all of that time that you've given us this morning and for sharing all of that. We thank our 4 actors that have participated with you this morning, and we thank everyone that's been behind the scenes pushing these buttons and getting these questions answered for the team. Thank you to ACTRA Toronto. We're just at our time. Thanks, everyone, team. We have another session coming up in 15 minutes, the tax session. Take a break, grab a coffee. We'll see you there. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.